I became a multi-millionaire, but I didn't tell anyone. Instead, I told a different story, that I was broke. I wanted to see who loved me and who loved what I could give them. I didn't expect the silence. I didn't expect the excuses. I didn't expect the way my heart would split the night my own sister shut the door. In the end, only one hand reached for me. Only one. And when I finally revealed the truth, the room went silent. You could hear the sound of shame. I am Sarah Collins, and here is my complete story. I wasn't born into drama. I was born into almost. We were always almost okay. Almost caught up on rent. Almost done paying off the old car. Almost getting ahead. I worked at a small insurance office, front desk, forms, phones, please hold. I can still hear the fluorescent lights humming above me, the kind of sound that feels like a headache that never quite arrives. Most months, my paycheck arrived like a sigh. I'd sit at my kitchen table with a pen, 3 envelopes, and a calculator. Rent, utilities, groceries. I loved that table. Its edges were dented from years of elbows and truth-telling. The truth was, even though I was always the one others came to, I was never the one anyone checked on. My brother Darren would text, "Sis, rent's short this month. Just a little help." My sister Lena would call, "Can you spot me for Kayla's school trip? I'll pay you back Friday." My cousin Maya, it was always, "We're like sisters. Can I hold $300 till next week?" I gave. I gave because I knew the taste of fear when the fridge hummed, but the shelves didn't. Because I wanted our family to feel safe. I told myself that kindness circles back. For years, that circle felt like a line I walked alone. I didn't plan to buy a lottery ticket. I stopped in for milk, bread, and aspirin. The clerk, Hector, smiled at me the way people do when they've decided you're harmless. On the counter was a stack of tickets printed with stars and cheap gold. I had a handful of coins in my purse. My car had coughed twice that morning. The manager had cut my hours. The electric company had stopped sounding friendly. Why not? I told myself. Why not give myself one moment that isn't math? That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a butter knife, scraping away the silver film. One number matched. Then another. Then another. I laughed. Then I stopped laughing. My chest tightened. The last number sat there like a dare. It matched. There's a stillness that only arrives right before joy and right before fear. They feel the same for a breath. I set the ticket down, walked to the sink, washed my hands, then walked back, like rinsing would make it real. Millions. I had 1 million. I didn't call anyone. The quiet should have felt like loneliness. Instead, it felt like oxygen. I put the ticket in an envelope, then into the pages of a cookbook my mother left me. The one with grease stains and margin notes like prayers. I slept for the first time in months. I claimed the prize through a trust. A lawyer, Ms. Patel, spoke to me with a calm that made me believe I wasn't crazy for not screaming this from the rooftop. She asked, "Do you want to go public?" I laughed. "No." She nodded. "Good. Wealth magnifies what's already there. It doesn't fix people, it reveals them." Those words tightened something in my chest. Reveals them. As the funds cleared into accounts I could barely look at without shaking, I made a second decision. No mansion, no car with a name, no sudden vacations. Not yet. I needed to know who I was to the people I loved. Was I a person or a resource? So I wrote rules on a page in my notebook. Rule 1. Ask small, reasonable favors, things anyone could offer. Rule 2. Take notes. Date, time, exact words. Not to punish, just to remember. Rule 3. Only tell one person the truth when the test ends. Rule 4. Give consequences. Not revenge for pain's sake, but boundaries. I didn't know then that boundaries can still feel like broken ribs. Underscore 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 underscore. I called Darren at 7:40 p.m. He picked up on the second ring. "Hey, sis. What's up?" I made my voice small, the way people do when they've decided to sound less like a problem. "Work cut hours again. I'm behind on the gas bill. Just a little help?" I'll pay you back. Silence. Then the exhale. You should have saved better. I've got kids. You know how it is. Maybe next month. Could I crash on your couch for a couple of nights? Just until things settle? You know Jenna. She's big on privacy, and the kids have a routine. It'd be disruptive. Disruptive. I wrote the word down. I wrote his exact sentence, added the date, then closed my notebook like a wound I wasn't ready to see. Flashback. The time his car broke down in winter. I swiped my last credit card to cover the tow. He promised to pay me back. He still says soon, like it's a place on a map we'll visit together. Maya and I met at a cafe with ceramic cups and low music, the kind of place that makes problems look prettier. Her nails shone like tiny mirrors. Her purse probably cost more than my rent. I told her, I'm behind. The landlord's impatient. She tilted her head. Girl, I wish I could. Things are crazy. You know how it is. Could you babysit on Saturday? My neighbor offered me an extra shift, and if I take it, I can breathe a little. She glanced at her phone. Saturday's tight. I promised myself self-care. Also, my back. Self-care. I wrote that down too. Not because it's wrong, but because it was the kind of word you use when you want to feel kind while saying no. She hugged me in the parking lot, perfume and distance. Lena's house always smells like warm sugar and lemon cleaner. I brought over a casserole I could barely afford to assemble without coupons. Her daughter Kayla drew me a heart with the word "aunt" inside. I tucked it into my purse like a shield I hoped to need. After dinner, I tried it gently. Lena, could I borrow $200? Just until the 25th. She set her fork down with a click. I can't keep bailing you out. Bailing me out? My voice cracked. I've never. She cut me off. You've made your choices. I have Kayla to think about. Flashback. Kayla's school trip to the Science Museum, how I paid for it and packed the snacks and braided her hair because Lena had a double shift. I swallowed the memory like it belonged to a different family. Could I sleep on your couch for a couple of nights? Just so I don't fall behind further. Her face hardened. It's not a good example for Kayla. Not a good example. I wrote that down too. Later, at home, I smoothed out Kayla's drawing and taped it above the kitchen sink. A tiny bright heart on a wall that suddenly felt like distance. I gave money when I didn't have it. I co-signed when my stomach told me not to. I watched dogs, babysat kids, picked up groceries, and answered calls at midnight from people who thought my life existed in their time zone. I remembered a December when Darren wanted to surprise Jenna with a ring. He asked me to spot him until tax time. He flashed me a grin that looked like a promise. I gave him enough to make a memory. I remembered when Lena's first apartment flooded. I stored her boxes for months in my living room, stepping around them like a maze. Each box was labeled fragile. Some people use that label like a life choice. Memory is a ledger, even when you don't want it to be. Tasha and I had known each other since high school. We'd shared secrets, shoes, and 100 bad ideas. I called her on a Wednesday, when the workday ends like a door slamming. Can we talk? I'm in a bind. Girls, same, she said, laughing. I'm living on vibes and iced coffee. I just need. She cut in. Don't take it personal. I just can't be a bank. You know. I was hoping for a ride to work until I sort out the car. A ride? That's like early. I'm not a morning person. Later, I saw a story she posted. Brunch, bottomless mimosas, captioned Self-Care Sunday. I guess self-care is louder than friendship. I wrote it all down. They're the kind of couple that loves the word principle when the topic is money and family when the topic is yours. Their living room shines. Plastic on the couch, glass trophies from bowling leagues, a ceramic angel that watches you like a debt collector. I explained about the bills. Uncle Vic steepled his fingers like a banker in a movie. We could help, he said slowly, but we'd want to do it right. Paperwork. Interest. A real agreement. What kind of interest? 10%, he said, as if generosity came with a decimal point. Aunt Rita smiled. Teach his responsibility. I thought of the loan I gave them when their roof leaked last spring. No paperwork. No interest. Just towels and tarps and prayers. Thank you, I said, standing. I'll manage. Pride. Rita sniffed. Such a shame. In the car, I wrote, 10%. Teaches responsibility. I underlined it twice. 2 weeks into my test, my car gave up in the far right lane of a street that smelled like fried chicken and dust. The engine coughed, then went quiet. I turned the key and got a click that sounded like a door locking from the inside. I called Darren. My car died. Could you pick me up? Where are you? That's across town. Traffic's a mess. Maybe call a tow. Could you spot me a tow? Silence. I'm in a meeting. I called Lena. It's dark. I'm stranded. She sighed. I'd love to, but Kayla's homework. And she has a routine. You get it. My cousin Maya. Ugh, that area? Sketchy. Be safe, babe. Tasha. Left on read. I sat in the car, phone at 8%, shame at 100%. Then I dialed Nana. Her voice came like a porch light. Where are you? I told her. 20 minutes later, her little blue sedan pulled in behind me. She got out wearing a cardigan and courage. Nana, you didn't have to. Hush, she said, pressing a thermos into my hands. I brought tea. She stood with me as the tow truck groaned my car onto its back like a whale. She paid the driver before I could reach my purse. Don't argue with an old woman, she said, eyes bright. In her car, with a thermos warming my palms, I cried. It came out the way rain does after a dry spell. Sudden, too much, loud against the roof. She drove with her hands at 10 and 2, the way she taught me. I have $50 cash, she said. A little extra for my quilting. You'll take it. Nana. We don't measure love in thousands. We measure it by showing up. I wrote nothing down that night. I just held her hand on the porch until the porch light attracted moths and new hope. Her kitchen is small, bright, and honest. The table wobble has its own personality. She put soup on the stove, and the world made sense again. She slipped an envelope under my palm. $50. The paper felt heavier than checks with too many zeros. Where's your pride now? She asked softly. Back in the glove compartment, I said, and we both laughed. Then she told me a story from her childhood about a village, well, that looked shallow until you dropped a stone and waited for the sound. Some people's kindness is like that, she said. Shallow when you need it. Others look small and quiet, but their kindness is deep. You find out when you're thirsty. I asked her, am I wrong for testing them? You're not wrong to learn, she said. Just be ready to live with what you learn. I slept on Nana's couch that night. I woke to sunlight and peace. Back home, I opened my notebook and read it end to end. Dates, times, exact words. It didn't feel like evidence. It felt like gravity. Still, Ms. Patel's sentence rang in my head. Wealth reveals. I decided to make one last round. Not for more no's, but to see if anyone would offer help that didn't require a calculator. I texted Darren. Could you help me move 2 boxes to storage? They're heavy. He typed then stopped. Backspin acting up. Maybe next week. I asked Lena. Kayla outgrown any clothes? I can babysit while you sort. She replied. We're good. Don't want you to overextend. I called Maya. Want to share groceries? I found a discount place. She laughed gently. I only do organic now. Doctor's orders. The notebook closed itself. I sat in Ms. Patel's office, air smelling like paper and peppermint. I told her I wanted to make a public family announcement, private public, dinner only. She listened without judgment, then asked, what outcome do you actually want? Clarity, I said, and for my grandmother to never worry again. She nodded. Then make the night about clarity and care, not about humiliation. Revenge that only wounds won't give you peace. But truth with boundaries? That's medicine. We set up documents. A deed to a house near a park Nana loved, a trust to cover every health need, a card with a number Nana could call where a human answers and says her name like a song. I cried signing those papers. Ms. Patel added, if you choose to say anything to the others, say it in a way you can re-listen to later without wincing at yourself. I went home and wrote my speech. I read it to the mirror. I cut the parts that were purely anger. I kept the parts that were precise. I texted the family group chat. Dinner at Johnny's on Saturday, 6 p.m. Important family update. Please be on time. I added a note privately to Darren and Lena. It concerns Nana's future. because it did, and because I wanted them to show up. Yes, from Aunt Rita. We'll try, from Lena. Depends on the game, from Darren. Maya sent a heart and a sparkle. I booked the back room. I told the manager I wanted quiet, space, and a moment at the end to speak. He nodded, used to birthdays and proposals. He didn't know this would be a funeral for certain illusions. I wore a simple black dress and the necklace Nana gave me when I graduated. I sat beside her. She squeezed my hand under the table. Johnny smelled like basil and beginning again. People arrived in versions of themselves. Darren in a team jacket talking about points like they were prayers. Lena in a cardigan that said competent, Kayla at her side, eyes bright. Maya with a sparkly purse and a laugh that knew its way around a room. Aunt Rita and Uncle Vic together like matching opinions. We ate. We talked about safe things. Weather, gas prices, a neighbor's new car, the way time was flying and dragging. I watched their faces the way a nurse watches monitors. Halfway through, I stood. My glass touched the fork. The sound rang clean. "Thank you for coming," I said, voice steady. "I have two things to share tonight. One is a gift. The other is a truth." Chairs shifted. Forks stilled. I kept my eyes on the far wall at first, then forced them back to faces. Over the last few weeks, I told some of you I was struggling. I asked for help. Small help. A couch. A ride. 2 boxes to storage. I turned to Darren. "You told me your back hurt. You couldn't drive across town. You suggested I call a tow." He frowned. I turned to Lena. "You said letting me sleep on your couch would be a bad example for Kayla. You told me you can't keep bailing me out." She flushed. "That's not how To Maya," I said gently. "I asked for babysitting so I could work an extra shift. You had self-care. And a doctor's order for organic." Maya's smile trembled. "I didn't realize. Aunt Rita, Uncle Vic, you offered me a loan at 10% interest. Paperwork to teach responsibility." Uncle Vic sat up taller. "We were trying to help the right way." "And Tasha," I said quietly. "I asked for a ride. You're not here tonight, but I'll speak the truth as if you weren't the morning person." A few faces tightened. One face looked down at a napkin as if it could hide a life. I continued, voice calm. "I'm not saying anyone owes me anything, but I needed to see something. Because before those asks, for years, I gave. I gave to rent, school trips, roofs, rings, dinners, emergencies. I did it gladly. I did it because I believed in us. I let silence have the room for a count of 3. Only one person showed up for me when I asked. She drove across town at night and stood with me while a tow truck took my car. She pressed $50 into my hand, money she shouldn't have had to spare. She didn't lecture me. She didn't ask for interest. She said, 'We measure love by showing up.'" I turned to Nana. She smiled through tears that streaked like truth. I took a folder from my bag. "Nana, this is for you." Hands shook around the table for different reasons. For the woman who taught me to boil potatoes and anger gently. For the woman who told me the story of the well that looks shallow until you listen for the splash. For the only person who didn't ask me to shrink to fit her comfort. I handed her the deed, the trust documents, the contact card. "This is your house. Paid in full. 1 block from the park with the rose garden. This is your health care, every visit, every prescription, every specialist. This is your number. Call anytime. Someone will answer and say your name like you said mine when I scraped my knee on the church steps." Nana covered her mouth. A sound came out that lives halfway between laughter and the relief that makes your bones feel softer. Kayla clapped because children know when joy is correct. Lena stared. Darren swallowed loud enough to hear. Aunt Rita's mouth formed a small circle around a sharp thought. I put the empty folder down. "The second thing I came to say is this. I won the lottery." The word lottery rolled through the room like thunder that doesn't need lightning to prove itself. "I won millions," I continued. "Weeks ago. I claimed it quietly. I kept working. I told no one. Asked for small favors to see who I was to you." Darren's chair scraped. "You tested us?" "I learned," I said. "And now I'm sharing what I learned. Wealth reveals. It revealed where the love lives. It revealed who calls me family and who calls me convenient." Lena's chin jutted. You're punishing us for having boundaries. I breathed, counted 3. Boundaries are beautiful. I'm building mine. Here they are. I will no longer lend money to family. I will no longer be a couch or a constant or a second paycheck. I won't be your interest-free bank or your emergency plan. I will give generously to those who show up with care, not just once when there's a stage, but always, quietly, like Nana did in the dark beside a dead car. Aunt Rita tried to soften the room with a chuckle. We were just teaching you responsibility. I met her eyes. You taught me something, just not what you think. Maya spoke, voice small. I didn't know it was that serious. It was, I said. Even if it weren't, kindness doesn't check your credit score before it shows up. I reached into my bag and pulled out envelopes I had addressed by hand. Inside each envelope is a letter. Not a curse, not a confession, just the truth. What I asked, what you said, what I remember giving. I wrote them so I wouldn't perform tonight and then forget in the morning. You don't need to open them here. I handed Darren his. He took it like a ticket to a place he didn't want to go. Lena's fingers trembled when mine brushed hers. Maya whispered, "I'm sorry." Too soon, as if apologies could arrive by overnight shipping. "Read them when you want," I said. "Or don't." But this is me closing the ledger, not reopening a case. I'm done tallying. Kayla leaned toward Nana and asked in a whisper that only children think is silent, "Is Andy mad?" Nana whispered back, "She's clear." Clear tastes like bittersweet chocolate. Strong, honest, grown. Darren's voice edged toward anger. "So, you're rich now, and we're, what? Bad guys?"
You didn't ask me right.
You didn't explain how serious it was. I asked you to drive across town at night, so I wouldn't be alone, I said. I didn't think I needed a PowerPoint. Lena's eyes shone. I was protecting Kayla. I believe you, I said. And I'm protecting me. Aunt Rita opened her envelope anyway, skimmed, snorted. You make us sound like villains. I described behaviors, I said. If the shoe squeaks, it's because it's old. Maya reached for my hand. Can we start over?
We can try, I said.
But starting over isn't the same as erasing what happened. It means showing up differently, without being asked. Nana stood. No one expects a small, older woman to be thunder, but she was. Enough, she said kindly, which is the best kind of enough. This child of mine offered you the tenderness of truth. Don't bruise it with your defensiveness. Be grateful she didn't throw your words like stones. She placed them on the table and said, look. So look. We looked, or pretended to. Johnny's staff cleared plates like they were rescuing us from ourselves. I paid the bill with a card whose number I still couldn't memorize without anxiety. We walked out into a night that smelled like wet pavement and basil. Air that knew should have felt like forgiveness. It felt like a bruise being iced. In the parking lot, Darren muttered without meeting my eyes, "Congrats, I guess." Lena hugged me harder than our argument deserved. "Text me you got home safe," she said automatically. Maya cried, promising brunch plans we both knew would sit in a calendar like a dead plant. Nana took my arm, light as a bird on a branch. "Let's go home." On the drive, she patted my knee. "You didn't humiliate them," she said. "You invited them to truth. They can be mad at the mirror." "I feel heavy," I admitted. "You just set down a boulder," she said. "The ground still remembers your weight." The house by the rose garden was smaller than a millionaire's story and bigger than any place we'd ever had. We didn't hire movers. Nana said she trusted her quilts only to family hands. We carried boxes that said kitchen and books and memories. Kayla came with Lena that morning, quieter than usual. She drew a new picture for the fridge, a house with 2 smiling stick figures and a garden dotted with red circles like joy. She wrote Nana above one stick figure and me above the other, then looked at me. I pointed at a sun in the corner. "Put me there," I said, "so I can watch over you both." She giggled, approved. I set up Nana's room by the window, hung her curtains so they just touched the sill. When she walked in, she put a hand to the fabric, whispered, "I am held." We ate pizza on the floor. We made a list of small things that make a home. A doormat that says, "Come in gently," a pot for herbs, a bell for the back door, so the breeze has a voice. I slept in the guest room that night and dreamed about wells that never run dry. I didn't quit my job right away. I dropped a day, then another. I gave myself mornings that weren't emergencies. I learned that eggs taste different when you're not swallowing worry with them. I set up a scholarship in Mom's name for girls who wanted to study numbers and never be shamed for it. I didn't put her last name on a plaque. I watched graduation photos like they were weather reports predicting good seasons. I paid off the debt I owed to myself first. Sleep, clean sheets, a dentist appointment I'd canceled twice, laughter that reached my eyes. With some of the money, I did precisely nothing. Let me say that clearly because no one teaches it. Unused money is not wasted. Rest is also a responsibility. I didn't announce my boundaries again. I lived them. When Darren texted, "Could you co-sign for a new truck? Interest is low." I wrote, "I don't co-sign. I can recommend a credit counselor and a mechanic who works with payment plans." He responded with a thumbs down. I put my phone face down and went outside to smell basil. When Lena hinted, "Kayla's camp is expensive this year," I replied, "I'm investing in Nana's World and Community scholarships. I can help Kayla find a free arts program. Want me to send links?" She wrote back, "We'll manage." It read like a door closing from the inside. Maya started a conversation at brunch about crypto and opportunities. I excused myself to the bathroom and texted Nana a photo of the cafe's ridiculous bathroom wallpaper, lemons wearing sunglasses. I came back and said, "I'm not investing with friends, but I'm rooting for your wins." They learned, or they pretended to. Pretending was fine. Pretending is a bridge some people must cross before they can walk. The mailman waved. The neighbor's cat accepted us like a monarch who has decided the peasants can live. Nana made quilts for babies she'd never hold, sent them with notes that said, "You are wrapped in someone's hope." I cried at the kitchen table about that, gently, the way you cry when something is exactly right. I met Mrs. Oliver 2 houses down. She grows tomatoes like they're a religion. I carried her groceries to the porch. She told me about the husband she misses like a favorite sweater gone at the laundromat. I fixed her wobbly step. She brought us a pie. We are even and we are not, and that is the kind of math I trust now. A girl from the scholarship wrote me a letter. "I didn't think people like me got picked. Thank you for making me feel like I exist." I taped it near the sink where Kayla's heart used to live. Hearts multiply when you let them. Darren came by with a six-pack and the look sons wear when they want to be better men than they were yesterday. He stood on the porch, shuffled his feet. "I read your letter," he said. "How'd it feel?" I asked. "Like swallowing rocks," he said, honest in a way that made me less angry. "I keep thinking about the night your car died. I had nothing that couldn't have waited. You had pride," I said, not unkindly. He nodded. "I'm sorry. I accept your apology," I said. "Boundaries remain."
Fair, he said.
He looked over my shoulder. "Nana home?" "She's quilting hope," I said. He laughed the way kids laugh when their favorite teacher says something clever. Lena took longer. When she finally came, she carried cookies in a tin like a peace treaty wrapped in sugar. She looked at the floor a lot. "I'm sorry," she said, small as a button. I tell myself I was protecting Kayla, but what I was guarding was the version of our lives where I'm the good one and you're the strong one. "I didn't leave you a place to be weak." I cried, because that was a sentence worth tears. "I forgive you," I said. "We go slow." "We go slow," she repeated, and something right began. Maya sent a bouquet of expensive flowers. The card said, "I'm learning what real costs look like." I texted her a heart and then a link to a community pantry that needed volunteers. She took a shift, then another. Then she posted about it without posting selfies, which is a level of growth I didn't predict. There was a night when the house felt too big and the silence felt like a bell clanging in a church no one attends. I thought about calling everyone, saying, "Forget it. Let's go back." But you can't go back. You can only go forward with your eyes open. Nana found me at the kitchen table, forehead on the cool with like I was praying to a flat god. She put a mug beside my head. "When babies learn to walk," she said, "they fall a lot. No one tells them to go back to crawling. We clap for the falling, because it means the walking is coming." "So, where's my clapping?" I asked, grinning through tears. She clapped, slow and soft. "For every time you tell the truth, even when your voice shakes." I slept well that night because someone clapped for my falling. Revenge, the old kind, is about making someone hurt like you hurt. It burns hot and fast and leaves a smell you can't wash out of your hair. I wanted something cleaner.
My revenge would be peace.
My revenge would be kindness I chose, not kindness I bled for. My revenge would be the way my grandmother's laugh filled a room like cinnamon and sunlight. My revenge would be refusing to let bitterness become my personality. So I gave to places that didn't ask me to shrink. I funded after-school programs that let kids bang on drums and call it music, because it is. I quietly paid off lunch balances at Kayla's school. Lena didn't know. She just called me one day and said, "They said someone settled the account." And I said, "Maybe kindness did it." And we both smiled like we'd kept a secret with a stranger. I bought myself shoes that didn't squeak and a suitcase that would outlast me. I traveled with Nana to the coast she'd always wanted to see. She stood in front of the ocean with her arms out like the horizon was hugging back. "This," she said, "is the exact size of forgiveness." We ate fish too fresh to need lemon. We slept with the balcony door open so the sea could come in like a generous guest. Peace feels like that, a guest you once thought you couldn't afford. Months later, at a birthday party where the cake looked like a crown and the birthday boy acted like he'd earned it, Aunt Rita pulled me aside. "You made us all look bad," she said, like she was reporting a crime. "I made us all look true," I said. She lifted her chin. "Families should be forgiving." "Forgiveness isn't a refund," I said. "It's not store credit. It's a release. I forgive you for being yourself. I'm released from lending you money." Uncle Vic joined, sensing a team sport. "You embarrassed us at Johnny's." "You embarrassed yourselves," Nana said, appearing like a fairy godmother who prefers facts over pumpkin carriages. "I taught this girl to say please and thank you,"
She said both that night.
"You didn't like the gift or the bill. That's not her fault." They grumbled, but the wind had shifted. You can't argue with a storm that already passed. You can only dry off. I keep a different ledger now. It's not in a notebook. It's in how I feel when I leave a conversation. Lighter? Heavier? Seen? Spent? I invest in what leaves me lighter in a way that lasts. Darren calls sometimes just to send a photo of his kids baking a mess. Lena texts me pictures of Kayla's drawings. I frame the ones that crack me open. Maya sends recipes and volunteer shifts. Sometimes we go together and carry boxes side by side without narrating our goodness. Tasha and I drifted. That's a kind of truth too. Not every friend is meant for forever. Some are for high school hallways and mixtapes, and that's okay. I grieved her like you grieve a favorite song you've outgrown. The house holds us gently. The rose garden down the block holds something else. Saturdays where Nana and I sit on a bench and watch couples take photos, babies grip leaves, and old men argue about which shade of red smells strongest. We bet on a breeze and both win. If I could tell you one thing, and maybe this is what you came for, it's that money is a magnifying glass. It makes small kindnesses vast and small cruelties loud. It doesn't change your heart. It shows you which room it's been in all along. The test didn't make my family fail. It made the failing visible. That visibility hurts, but it also heals. You can't stitch a wound you can't see. If you decide to test the people you love, be prepared to love them afterward in a different way, or not at all. Be prepared to choose peace like you choose breakfast, daily and without drama. Be prepared to be lonely for a while. Loneliness leaves when peace arrives. Sometimes they share a doorway for a season. And if you take anything else from me, take this. When money disappears, the truth appears. When money appears, the truth shouts. I'm still a millionaire. I still buy milk, bread, aspirin. I still talk to the clerk. Hector knows my name now. He asked me once, "What would you do if you lost it all tomorrow?" I smiled. I'd still have the house that knows our names. I'd still have the rose garden. I'd still have the people who showed up when I needed a ride in the dark. I'd still have my peace. He nodded like he understood more than prices. That's real wealth, he said. When I drive home, the porch light is on because Nana turns it on before the sun even thinks about leaving. I open the door, and the house smells like soup and safety. I won millions on a Thursday. What I kept was everything that matters on every day after. This was my test. This was my family. This was my revenge, if you need to call it that. To live well, love better, and never again beg where I deserve to be held.